Aloha, everyone. So it's week 9, and I promised you guys a part 2 of my video series Connecting the Dots. So if you haven't watched part 1 of Connecting the Dots video that I put together a couple weeks ago, please go ahead and watch that video first because I kind of go over all the assignments, all the competencies, and the level of understanding and quality that you guys should be um, striving to achieve in this class. What I'm going to be talking about in this video are three key deliverables that you guys are going to be engaging in for project number 2 and project number 3. So project number 2 is to set you guys up for project number 3, because in project number 3 you guys are going to engage in usability testing. You guys are going to go through a transformation in your wireframes, and then you're going to create a prototype. So there's a lot of work involved between projects 2 and projects 3. Everything is connected in this class, and I wanted to discuss a little bit about all those connections and all the different pieces. So here's an example of a student wireframe from a student of mine last year. And if you look at the project number 2 deliverables table, this is deliverable number 10. So first draft of wireframes, 2 unique app flows of your app idea. Project number 2, you are working on your app idea, not an app idea that currently exists. You are also going to be drafting up those wireframes for that. Here are 2 unique app flows in Annalyn's wireframes. You notice that all her screens are labeled, and this is the inputting ingredients app flow. She has clear arrows indicating what UI element the user is interacting with, so what controls in this case. And she also has a user story for each screen explaining what the user is supposed to be doing. Just remember that you're going to need to label the app flow, have your different screens, so the whole entire sequence, and an arrow indicating the pathway, the user pathway, and then also the user story. So that's her app flow 1. Her app flow 2 is filtering recipes by including ingredients. So if the user includes some ingredients, in this wireframe it's eggs, she filters for cook time, and then she has recipes pop up, and she has a user story. An app flow represents one of your app functions. So the app flow is how does the user perform that entire function. And that's why I've put such an emphasis on you understanding how to identify app function, but also how to come up with an app function or app functionalities for your own app idea. So if you're struggling with understanding app functionality, you're going to struggle with the wireframing process. At this point in the semester, you're probably realizing that, wow, we don't work on the visual design until we have everything else worked out in the mobile design process. And that is exactly correct. In the industry, we really don't commit all our time and energy to the color palette and what everything's going to look like until we know what the wireframes are, until we have narrowed down to our target user, until we have all the app functionality laid out. And of course, what's also really important in all of this is, what is your competition doing? What are your white space ideas? What makes your app idea unique amongst a sea of millions of apps? That's what this whole, at least the first 2/3 of the class, is really walking you through that process before you commit anything to visual design. So once again, guys, the difference between projects number 2, where you're going to draft up your initial wireframes, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to start committing some color and visual design to your app idea. All right, so I'm going to talk about InVision in another tutorial video. So I'm not going to go into InVision right now, but this is the tool that you are going to be utilizing in your final project of this class. You are going to be creating your app prototype basically, and you are going to be using your final wireframes with your visual design incorporated into those wireframes, and then you're going to actually create an app prototype, which is really exciting. So when you're working on your project, you'll actually be texting the final prototype to your partner if they're comfortable with it, and they're going to be able to do a usability test using their phone. All right, guys, so once again, we have a nicer view of the entire app prototype if I view it on my phone, and you can send that through an SMS text to your partner if your partner feels comfortable with that. Otherwise, you'll have to do a usability test on your computer. What we're going to do here is we're going to just look through the UX and the user interface of Annalyn's app prototype. So as you can see, there's an onboarding process. So she uses page controls to kind of page through this whole onboarding process. So all these UI elements should look really familiar to you now. And you can start cooking. So she has a button there to start the process. We can add an ingredient. So notice that there's hot spots. So in InVision, when you are creating your app prototype, you are actually going to sort of create that pathway for your user, and also when you set up your usability tests. But you can find recipes, and if you notice, if you input like beef into your ingredients list, and these are the recipes that are going to come up. So the idea behind Annalyn's app is whatever ingredients that you have in your refrigerator, you can input a couple different. You're able to favorite. So here I'm not able to favorite yet. I have to actually select the recipe, and then I can favorite the recipe. So in her usability test, she has specific tasks that she wants her partner to execute. And then as you're performing the usability test, you're taking notes, you're actually recording what you're saying during that process so that she or your partner can see where some of the challenges might be in the actual prototype, or where you might need to go back to your wireframe and create a screen that's possibly missing. This is the ultimate vision of this course, CM400C. By the time you're done with this course, you're going to have your app idea in a app prototype with your own visual design attached to that. So if you have any questions, just definitely email me, set up to meet with me during my office hours every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30. The rest of the semester is going to go by really quick. So I don't want you guys to miss out on this whole entire process. I hope you enjoyed this really short video to connect the dots for you for the rest of the semester. Aloha and have a good week.